Welcome. How's everybody doing? Late video, sorry about that, but it's an important one. I wanted to make this one before I do anything else. Real quick though, before we get into the topic, which is motivation, it's very important video. I'm gonna be in Austin next week. I think I'm gonna be there starting Tuesday, the rest of the week. It's gonna be a very important visit for me, for my business. So if you're gonna be in Austin, if you're in Austin, send me a message, comment, or yes, send me a message better, and maybe we can have lunch or whatever. If you're around, that'd be awesome. I'm gonna be there with one of the biggest Facebook agencies in the whole United States. It's gonna be a group of about 15 of us, and we're actually gonna be able to take a tour on Facebook headquarters in Austin and meet some reps. We're actually gonna be also with Ryan Dice, if you guys know who that is. He is the CEO of digitalmarketer.com, and so he's sort of a big player and really awesome guy. He's going to be giving a little talk for us, and we're going to be able to network. It's going to be a very important trip for me, again, to be in Facebook headquarters, to meet reps, to be able to ask, have contacts inside of Facebook. Very important for me and for my business, and I'm very excited, very excited. So that's next week. I'm going to be in Austin. If you guys are around, let me know. Okay, great. We're going to talk about motivation today. So, and why is this important? Well, if you've been following my talks, if you've been following my videos, you know that I am very, I think of everything as one thing and as a separate thing. So, instead of compartmentalizing everything, instead of dividing everything into, history, this is history, and this is the nice little box where history fits, and then the next box is math, and then the next box, well, it's not really that way in real life, right? Everything is sort of together in this gestalt of things that interact, and so when we actually have to look at a problem, we have to look at a problem as a whole. We can't necessarily to solve the jigsaw puzzle, you got to look at the whole picture. Even if you can solve a little section of it and find all the pieces, well, that's all great, but that's only part of it. The whole piece of whatever picture, that's what's important, okay? So I think of motivation as an all-encompassing concept that allows us to get things done or not. And this goes for everything, for relationships. This goes, of course, for business. This goes, of course, for disciplines like losing weight or being healthier or, all these sort of things. What are the things that drives us, right? I heard John Maxwell likes to say, I thought this was pretty cool. He says that people only change for 3 reasons. Let's see if I remember. He says people only change if they know enough that they're able to change, or if they care enough that they want to change, or if they hurt enough that they have to change. And that's pretty powerful stuff, right? So if whatever stage we're in for change, for progress, for anything we want to get done, the question is, what is the fuel that's going to, be inside of us so we wake up every day, so we get it done, we follow a diet, we do our to-do list, we're organized, whatever kinds of things. If you think about of all the things that you've wanted to do in your life, it usually hasn't been because they were too hard for you, but the consistency wasn't there. Maybe the motivation wasn't there. And so we're going to talk a little bit about motivation. This is, again, things that I like to think about, things that I like to personally apply, and that help me sort of frame things. And again, feel free to experiment them, right? It's not, this is not the all end all of everything, and I don't claim to know everything, but these kinds of things have helped me, and so I like to share them, okay? So, and the title of the talk is Push versus Pull, because for me, there's 2 types of motivation, okay? And, we can call them this, you can call them anything you want. And once you understand the concept, though, that's what's important. So, push motivation versus pull motivation, okay? And this is the difference between them is basically this. And let's say for push motivation, let's talk about that one. That's usually the one that people sort of gravitate towards, and these are the kinds of things that would force somebody, or would at least prick somebody on the side, kind of like to change. Okay, really, if you see yourself in the mirror and you see, you're really gaining weight here, and you're like, oh man, this is, and then that starts to sort of prick you a little bit, and you start to sort of push yourself to, I really need to eat better or exercise more or whatever it is, right? So what is the difference here? So push motivation is, let's suppose that you are walking around with a friend, okay? And this happened to me actually in Bogota last week. So I was in Bogota. We went to this particular place, and we're hanging out, had a couple drinks, and I met a guy there, and he was American, so he was completely lost because there was, he spoke very little Spanish, and some guys were trying to rip him off. And I was talking to some girls, and then I saw him in a distance, and he was about to, probably get, taken, I don't know, or at least, robbed. And so I kind of called him out in English, and we had a conversation. I brought him over. I introduced him to the friends that I was with. And anyways, so after that, we talked to the girls for a little bit, and then he was like, I have to go. And so he said, okay, let's walk to your place, because his place was really close. So and I'll just take an Uber. So we were walking, and he was telling me what he did, where he was from, and everything, and I was telling him what I did and everything. And then all of a sudden, this dog comes out of nowhere, okay? And this dog comes out, and it's like big. This big dog is like some like a Rottweiler type of dog. He comes out barking just out of nowhere, and so that was our push motivation, right? So turns out he was tied up, so it was okay. But of course we ran, okay? We were like, whoa, it's a dog, okay? So, and it's about to, bite us. Not that would, really matter, because a dog will catch you anyways. There's, you can't really outrun a dog. But that was our motivation to go away from the dog. Now, in this scenario, at first, your motivation is 100%, right? This thing is coming at you, you gotta go. And so we, took off for a little bit. Let's just say, in this case, we realized he was tied down, so it was like, oh, no big deal. But let's say it wasn't, and we would have had to actually run. Now, let's suppose that we were able to outrun the dog, or something would have happened. The further away we get from the dog, the further away we get from that danger, then the less motivated we are to keep running, right? You get the point? Because, the push motivation says, look, there's a dog, it's about to bite me, I gotta go. And so we ran, but when we start, being further and further away from the dog, then it's like, well, we don't need to run anymore. We can stop running. And so that motivation stops, right? Because it has that, right? So if, let's suppose this was a more real life scenario. Let's say I want to lose weight, and let's say my goal is to weigh, I don't know, 180 pounds, okay? I don't weigh that much, but let's just say, for somebody out there. So 180 pounds. So the closer I am to my weight goal, then the less motivated I will be to keep up with the diet, to keep up with the exercise, to keep up with with a trainer, whatever it is, right? Because I'm closer and closer to it. Okay? Now, what is the difference between push and pull? So in this case, the pull motivation is it's a motivation that's, you can call push motivation, let's call it external, like the dog. Okay? It's something outside that motivates me to take an action. But pull motivation will be more like internal motivation. Okay? So in the case of losing weight, my pull motivation should be to be healthier. And it depends on the kind of person you are. You might experiment with the kinds of things you need to sort of think about. But for example, if you have a family and you have to take care of somebody that you love, and so you want to be healthy, you want to be strong for them, and so this sort of internal fire will not have a stop. This will keep going. You see what I'm saying? So these are the two different ways to think about it, and you see that this one, pull motivation, internal motivation, sort of from here, from the heart, from something bigger than yourself. If your motivation in your business is just to make more money, right? Oh, I want to make this much money. Then the closer you get, right, it just starts to dwindle down. I remember when I first started my business, my motivation was I need to make rent. But and of course, and then I actually had some motivation issues. Things kind of went a little bit up and down. But really, I started realizing the kind of person that I was inside. Okay? What is the kind of person that I am inside? And these are the kinds of things that I am inside. I'm about growth. I'm about learning. I'm about freedom. I'm about these things. I'm about family. A small group of people that I deeply care about. And so this is my pull motivation. Right now I focus on this, and then that takes care of everything else, because it's from within. The more successful that I get, and thankfully my business is doing better and better, and that's awesome, and I'm very happy about that. But I don't feel like, well, I guess I could just slow down, kind of like, well, no, because I want to continue to grow. I want to continue to learn. I want to continue to have this freedom of doing different things, of going different places, of traveling, meeting people, and doing these different things, right? So these are the things. Those are basically the two things. So I would definitely suggest you do some soul searching, because pull motivation has to do with you, right? A lot of times the problem is, well, I just can't get my stuff done. Well, maybe it's the way that you're lighting that fire. It's just something to think about. I'm going to close up this little talk with, so I was reading this earlier today. This is Plato's Republic. This is a very special book for me, actually. This copy that you see here with my notes and stuff, this copy I got when I was in high school. This is actually probably the first book, or one of the first books that I bought here in the U.S. when I moved here from Colombia in high school. And the first time I read this book, I was like 12 years old, okay? Yeah, that's weird, right? What 12-year-old reads Plato's Republic? But I was a weird kid. I guess many people would say I'm still a weird kid. This was an important book, and so since I had sort of fresh on my mind because I'd read it, and I really liked philosophy, and I really liked all that. When I started learning English, I thought, man, this would be a really good idea for me to read it in English. This is actually not a particularly good translation, but I didn't know better, right? I bought it, and I thought, wow, okay, I'll just read it. And always make time. This is, I guess, a side tip. Always make time to read stuff if you are into reading. I think it's important to do it. To read stuff that was written before Gutenberg, okay? But because before Gutenberg, books where it was very hard to keep up with a book. So cultures only kept up with books that were very, very valuable to copy them, to pass them on, to survive wars and different regimes and, time. So, books like this have really stood the test of time. And so I really like always making up time. So there's all the books that you can read about different stuff, but a lot of this this is very post Gutenberg, and this is very prior. We're talking this must be like 5th century before the Common Era. So that's pretty early. So and I was reading it today, and I knew I was going to make this talk about push and pull motivation, and I thought this was a very striking thing that Plato is comparing here. If you're not familiar with the Republic, these are a series of dialogues, very philosophical sort of discussions, question and answer, lots of back and forth. It's pretty interesting. I like it. So, and he's talking about light and the sun as how they're related to sight. Okay, we can see things because of light reflected on whatever object thing that we're seeing, and then back into the eye, right? And so even though all those things are related, they're not the same thing. And sight and vision are not the same thing as the sun. In this case, for Plato and in the culture of Plato, the sun we can talk about light, and because they didn't have light bulbs. But what I'm saying is light, and of course, sun being the purest form of really light that we have in the universe, at least in our solar system. So and look at this statement he says, and I thought this was so striking. I'm just going to close up with this. He says, light and sight may be truly said to be like the sun, and yet not to be the sun. So in this other sphere, science and truth may be deemed to be like good. Okay, this is, science and truth are good, but not the good. The good has a place of honor, yet higher. So yeah, this was so striking to me. I thought, wow, you read something like that and you just kind of close it and you put the book aside and you go, wow, that's awesome. So when we're talking about this, we may be talking about all these elements of vision, all these elements of whatever is it that we're doing. In this case, motivation for even can be something so banal as just being healthier, looking better, which is not a bad thing. But these are things that are they can be good, but not the good. You see, the good is like deep in. And so I thought that this was a good way to sort of relate those things, because the good, to find out what really lights up that fire in you, it's something that is deep, and that may be different for different people. And you have to be honest with yourself. You have to be so brutally honest and go, what is it that really motivates me? Is it really acquisition of wealth? Or is it really family and love? Or is it really prestige and honor and a name? Whatever it is. And really focus on that. And then, of course, over that, what Plato is saying here is that all those things are still good, but not the good. That ultimate purpose, that ultimate, why am I here, right? And of course, this gets really philosophical, and I don't want to make anybody, cry or anything. That's not the idea. But it is worth mentioning, and it is worth at least thinking about how these things that we do every day, from eating, drinking, hanging out, working, all these things reflect on our mission as a human being, on what really motivates us, what really drives us sort of from within, and what can potentially make us happy or not so happy. Okay? So that was the talk. Remember, I'm going to be in Austin next week. If you didn't catch the beginning of the talk, a lot of people watch my videos after the fact, so I just want to make them succinct and nice. And so we'll talk to you guys later. Make sure you keep sending me those comments, those messages. And if you're going to be in Austin next week, we might be able to catch lunch, okay? So send me a message, and we'll talk to you guys in the next one, okay? Bye-bye.